chapter 1. I think we're up to verse 15. So,
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure. Yes, Ben. Yes.
Why did she call her son Shmuel instead of Shaul?
Good question.
Because she keeps saying Altiv, Altiv, but then she calls him Shmuel.
Right. Very good question. I have an answer for you, but I want to get up to it.
Okay.
So we're going to answer your question on verse 23. So when we do verse 23, we're going to answer your question. That's Hashem.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's Hashem. So we're in verse 15, and we were talking last week about how Eli misjudged Hannah for praying. He thought she was drunk, and because she was praying quietly, and he initially was we explained that he asked the Urim V'Tumim, which is the in the breastplate. There's a name of Hashem that allows the letters to shine of the breastplate and give answers. It's like a spiritual way of getting finding out answers to the future, or to what's going on, or ways that a Kohen Gadol would be able to find out what Hashem wanted from them and wanted them to do. And I mentioned that the letters Shikaira, the letters of drunk, is what shined. And really, Eli HaKohen did not understand it right, because really it meant Keshera. She's really righteous. She's kosher. And another way of reading it is Kisara. She's just like Sarah, her great-great-grandmother. And so the verse said that she told Eli, "You are not my master, lo yaduni." Literally, it meant, "No, my master, I am not drunk." But if you read it a little differently, it means, "You are not my master because you misread me. You obviously aren't on the level of where you should be, of being a Kohen Gadol, being able to prophesize. You're not on the level of prophecy." And you don't have Ruach HaKodesh. Rashi really brings this down. You don't have the divine spirit, because I am not drunk. So you got it wrong. Now, we spoke last week about how it's somewhat surprising that Eli would have misjudged her. And we did mention that the Gemara says that if you do misjudge someone, you have to give them a blessing. And we saw in verse 17 that she said that Eli answered back that you should go in peace and God should give you your answer, your request. So we did explain that Eli gave her a blessing, and it was sort of like an atonement. And then we said that they both she apologized to Eli, so to speak, apologized to her, and that was the dialogue that went on. I did want to mention that there's a beautiful insight by the Lubavitcher Rebbe about this, between Eli and Hannah, and how Eli misjudged her. He didn't think she was physically drunk, but he felt that she was so selfish and so concerned about her own personal desires, that the way she stood there in front of the sanctuary, and she was just so to speak, thinking about only her own personal needs. And it was a sign of self-indulgence and personal lusts and desires. And Eli was rebuking her that, you know, you're supposed to think about the Jewish people, the spiritual matters, and you should not be thinking about your own, you know, just your own self and just caring about yourself. And and the term he used was "you're like drunk," and drunk is a term of being indulged and addicted to. You're just so in your own world, so to speak. You're in your own drunkenness. You don't see the world around you, so to speak. And so in a spiritual idea, she was like drunk. She was drunk in selfishness. And she answered Eli, she said, no. You misread me. I am totally caring about Hashem. And even my child that I want is not for my personal gain. I am going to be bringing him here and giving him over to Hashem once he's of age. I'm not even going to take him. What most parents would want is that their child stays nearby and is with them. I'm giving him totally for Hashem. This is totally, I want a child to be able to serve Hashem. And he'll totally be dedicated to Hashem. And Eli realized and acknowledged that he was wrong, and he confirmed what she wanted. He gave her the blessing that her prayer should come true. And this is the idea of Rosh Hashanah. We mentioned this prayer. It's such a great insight, because what it does is it shows us a little about what the prayer on Rosh Hashanah is all about. It involves some of our personal needs for the coming year, but at the same time, Rosh Hashanah is all about coronating God. So how does that go hand in hand? And the answer is that it's all of the desire that we have for a good year is all about Hashem. We want everything good for the coming year so that we will be able to serve Hashem properly. We want to be able to serve Hashem, that everything should be able to fit in its place, and we should have everything we need to be able to serve Hashem in the best way possible. And so that's how the story of Chana fits right in to the Rosh Hashanah prayers. And if we have everything we need, we can truly dedicate ourselves to serve Hashem. So that's a beautiful insight. And now we're going to continue. And let's start from verse 15. Chana answered and said, "No, my Lord, I am a woman of a grieved spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, and I have poured out my soul before Hashem. Do not deem your maidservant to be a base woman, for it is out of much grievance and anger that I have spoken until now." Eli then answered and said, "Go in peace. The God of Israel will grant the request that you made of him." So here she gave a bracha that it should come true. She should have what she wanted. And verse 18, she said, "May your maidservant find favor in your eyes." And then the woman went on her way, and she ate. The look on her face was no longer the same.
Rabbi.
Yes.
I have a question. When you're saying that Eli answered and said, "Go in peace, God of Israel will grant you a request which you have asked of him," it doesn't appear that it's necessarily a blessing as opposed to a prophecy, like a nevuah. If he has Ruach HaKodesh and it temporarily left him in that he couldn't identify Hannah's motives, now it seems like it's coming back. He's not telling her, I'm blessing you, you should have a blessing. It doesn't, it seems to say more of like it's a guarantee, like this is what's going to happen. Like all of a sudden, maybe the Ruach HaKodesh is, the divine spirit is working now, and I'm able to see this is not a hope, it's a factual prophecy.
I'm glad you bring that up because I did translate it the way the Metzudas David translates it, and that's the way he explains that it's derech tefillah. It was a prayer. He was blessing her, the Radak also mentions this as an option, but there is another explanation in the Radak, and the truth is even in Rashi. Rashi says he gave her the bisra, gave her the good news that her prayer was accepted. So that's exactly how you're translating it. And the truth is the Radak also does say that that this was he gives both options. The Radak has the option of it was a blessing, or there is that explanation that it was a derech nevuah, and he said as a way of prophecy. And according to the Radak, if you learn it that way, it's very understandable. The next verse says, she went on her way and she ate, and she didn't feel bad. And her face, the look on her face was no longer the same. So if it was a prophecy, if she heard it as a prophecy, it's very easy to understand. Of course, she's now thrilled. Her prayer has been accepted. But if you learn it as a bracha, it brings out more faith. Because now what we're saying is, she got a bracha, that's it. To her, she doesn't need the prophecy. She got a bracha. She knows that's, in other words, what's the difference between a bracha and prophecy? If she got a bracha from Eli HaKoyen, that's prophecy already. That's the same thing basically, because once he gave a bracha, it's going to happen. So she had that trust. Obviously, prophecy for a non-believer, prophecy is a lot greater than a bracha, but for her, you could, the other explanation fits very well as well, that she got a bracha and she was satisfied that this is going to happen. So thanks for bringing up the other explanation as well. So we're on verse 19, and verse 19 says, they arose early in the morning and prostrated themselves before Hashem, and then they returned and came to their home to Ramah. So they left. Elkanah knew his wife, and Hashem remembered her. And the reason why it mentions this, instead of just saying she became pregnant, it mentions Elkanah knew his wife. So Rashi brings down that when a person is a guest, they're not supposed to do anything that would, give the idea that they had relations. So, for example, having relations as a guest, if it would become revealed, let's say there's on the sheets or something, there could be some stain or something like that. That would be prohibited. And so it says when they came home, Elkanah knew his wife. And so it's teaching you that a guest is normally prohibited unless it would go unknown. Otherwise, it's not it doesn't fit within the category of modesty. That so, for example, if a person is traveling, they should bring their own sheet, or whatever they would need in order for it not to be known. Otherwise, it would be prohibited to have relations. So it mentions that they they went home, and Elkanah knew his wife, and Hashem remembered her. And our sages say she was remembered on Rosh Hashanah. That on Rosh Hashanah, she was given the so to speak, the ability to have a baby. And the next verse says that, and it happened with the passage of the period of days that Hannah had conceived, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Shmuel, for she said, I requested him from Hashem. So the question that Ben asked earlier is, if you think about the words, she asked him from Hashem. So that sounds like the word Shaul, like she asked him, she requested him from Hashem. And so, or maybe Mishael from Hashem, from or Shaul Mem, Shulam. Somehow, how does Shmuel come about? So we're going to see on verse 23 a little another point to add to this, and it'll help us understand why she called him Shmuel. But
Rabbi Smith.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I just saw in Me'am Lo'ez a very interesting thing on Pasuk 18, where it says the woman went on her way. So he brings from Medrash, which says that what does it mean that she went on their way? She menstruated.
Yeah.
That this is an indication that she was no longer barren, and according to the views that she was physically incapable of having children. It may be their menses had stopped before this episode, possibly due to age, or just that she was barren and she had never menstruated before. And that's all of a sudden why her countenance was up, because she said, oh, this is like coming right now.
Yes, that is a commentary. The reason for that commentary is there's a term in the Chumash that says ki derech nashim li. It's said about Rachel that she said the way of women is upon me. So the term for menstruation is derech. It's the way. And the Talmud also, it uses that term oirach bizman oiba, like it's sort of like the time, the way, the derech, actually, the Talmud, maybe that's not a good example, but the Derech Nashim Li is a good example. So I think that's based on that verse that the Medrash says she went L'darka, which means she menstruated. But I'm not sure if all people who are barren is if that's the common thing, that they don't menstruate. I always understood that they, for whatever reason, they just can't have kids, but not that they don't menstruate. So I don't know if that. I guess that's the meaning of the Medrash. Maybe maybe there is such a thing. I'm no doctor, so I don't know. Yes, Robert.
I just want to clarify. I may be at the wrong place, but it says where I'm reading is that Hashem remembered Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters, and the boy Samuel grew up with Hashem.
So what chapter are you on? What page are you on?
I'm on chapter 2, 1823. Am I too far behind? Where is everybody?
We're behind you. You're way
too
above,
far ahead.
beyond. We're in chapter 1.
So way at the beginning.
Okay.
So we're in verse 21. Verse 21.
Okay.
So it says over here, the man Elkanah ascended with his entire household to bring to Hashem the annual offering and his vow. So again, she had this baby. She named him Shmuel. And now Elkanah is now going up to Hashem as he always did. But Hannah did not ascend. So here Hannah is not going up with everyone. As she told her husband, when the child is weaned, then I will bring him and he shall appear before Hashem and shall settle there forever. So she's saying, I'm not going now, but don't think I'm in some way, in any shape or form, going to miss out in bringing my son to Hashem. He's going to be there much more than anyone else. I'm going to be bringing him and leaving him there. He's going to be there for the rest of his life. So it's not like I'm backing out of anything. I just, I'm just going to wait until I have him when while he's needed, while I'm needed, and then when it's time to bring him there, I will bring him there. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
The annual offering, is this connected to Rosh Hashanah or to the point in the harvest where the fruit is ready?
So, that's a good question. The understanding is that he used to go for all of the 3 holidays. Elkanah would go all 3 holidays, possibly with his whole family, possibly only one of the 3 holidays, the 3 major holidays, he would go with his family, and the rest he would go himself. Or possibly he only went once a year. We saw a few different opinions earlier on. So there were 3 opinions of how exactly he did it. Now, the term used over here is Zevach Hayom. He went to slaughter it was the Skufas Hayomim, she gave birth, and it says Zevach Hayomim. And it doesn't say clearly if it really means annual. In other words, the word Yomim sometimes could mean annual, and the Matzudas David does learn this way, what he normally brought yearly. But the other commentaries, Yomim means days. It could mean time. And here, let's say the Radak says Yomim refers to the time of the slaughtering of Mayadaya, the slaughtering of its time of the Mayed of the holiday. And Rashi says Zevach Hayomim Yos Devach Mayadaya, the same as the Radak, and they both say that they would, or I should say, Rashi says that they would, all the promises that they made between the holidays, they would bring on the holiday. So Rashi is obviously learning that it wasn't the annual one; it was the next holiday. It was for the holiday, and. But it could be translated as the annual, their annual pilgrimage. However, it doesn't say which holiday. So you got a good question there. Which holiday specifically was that annual pilgrimage, or did it switch off? Maybe some years they went Pesach, some years they went Sukkot, some years they went Shavuos. So it doesn't really say so clearly. And again, this is boiled. It takes us back to an earlier question of, we know that it's a mitzvah to be for the 3 holidays to do a pilgrimage to the Beis Hamikdash. Did that apply to the Mishkan? Was that applicable? Was there an obligation, or was this like beyond the letter of the law to go and celebrate at the Mishkan? Again, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, this was an obligation, but now the Beis Hamikdash is not built yet. So is this an obligation? Is this or is it beyond, or is it an argument between the rabbis? If it's like Elkanah seemed to go, most of the people didn't go, and maybe it was an argument at the time between the rabbis if it was an obligation or not. And Elkanah started this entire movement of traveling to the Mishkan, even though it wasn't a Beis Hamikdash, it was just the tabernacle. Again, it's not the main temple. This is before the main temple was built by King Solomon. It was, this is the Mishkan, so it's in Shiloh. It's not, doesn't have the full full power of the Beis Hamikdash, the full holiness, at least the permanence, I should say. It doesn't have full permanence of the Beis Hamikdash. Yes, Ben. Ben.
I wanted to say Mishkan is a dwelling, but I thought it was written in the Torah that 3 times a year you will come to see me and you will not come empty-handed.
Right.
At the
So
place
you
where I
bring in
choose.
all 3 times. It's not annual.
Right. So this is what I mentioned to you.
It says at the place where I choose, what I choose to my name or I choose to reside. I forget, in the Torah.
Yeah.
So just answering to Ben, it sounds like to me that he had chosen Shiloh.
I didn't hear your last sentence, Will. It sounds like
Shiloh should have been treated as the temple.
The Beis Hamikdash. So you're saying it says
there's several places where you do something in the place where I choose.
Right. So you're right. It does say Shalish Pam Bashana Yiro Kol Zechorcha Spnei Hashem B'Makom Hashiyivchar B'Chag HaMatzos B'Chag HaShavuos B'Chag HaSukkos. It says that in the place where Hashem chooses. So the question is the Mishkan called the Beis HaBechira or not? Is it called the place where Hashem chooses or not? Again, it's not Yerushalayim, it's Shiloh. So is this in the place where Hashem chooses? So it's, that is one of the questions that is being dealt with in this, among the commentaries. Was Elkanah not obligated to, or was he obligated to, or was it an argument between the rabbis? So that's exactly what we were just talking about, what you brought up. That even though at the time of the Beis Hamikdash is an obligation, it's questionable if there was an obligation in the time of Shiloh. Yes, David.
No, it's Ezra.
I'm sorry, Ezra. David. I called on David.
Why couldn't it be Shavuot? I mean, if she conceived shortly after Rosh Hashanah, 7 months or 8 months later, is the holiday of Shavuot.
So she didn't give birth to a 9-month baby. She gave birth to a 6-month baby. A little more over
6 months would be Pesach.
So maybe it's Pesach.
Or Shavuot.
There is the commentaries talk about it. I think there's a Talmudic statement, and I'd have to look it up, but I believe the Talmud talks about
One Shmuel.
Person who gives birth. There's in the Talmud it talks about a 7-month baby and a 9-month baby, and the person who gives birth to a 7-month baby, normally the 7 months don't have to be a full 7 months, so it's really 6 months and something. So the Talmud says, I see it's brought down over here now, that the Talmud says that in Yevamos that she gave birth after 6 months and 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I have, and I'm not sure, I have to look more into this, is it wasn't common for people to travel for Rosh Hashanah to the Mishkan. It would have been for Sukkot. And so what does it mean exactly that she was remembered on Rosh Hashanah if, that maybe they weren't there Rosh Hashanah, they were there Sukkot. And according to that, she really didn't get home till after Sukkot. So, it's sort of a little unclear to me. And I didn't do enough research on it, but it's something that was bothering me when I was preparing these classes. And now that you brought it up, Ezra, I figured I'll share it with you. That it is a little, unclear exactly to me. But maybe in that Gemara, if I look up that Gemara, maybe it'll be more clear. Maybe it discusses exactly when she became pregnant and why, how that worked out. Because in other words, how do we say that she was remembered on Rosh Hashanah if her prayer was Rosh Hashanah, if normally you're not there, were they there actually on Rosh Hashanah? Did they wait there until after Sukkot to go home? So they were actually there, maybe I guess you could say they were there Rosh Hashanah. And but they didn't go home until after Sukkot, and then she became pregnant, and maybe she gave birth, and it was already Pesach time, and she said, "No, I'm staying with the baby. You people go for Pesach." So that would be maybe, I don't know. It just seems surprising to me that they would go for Rosh Hashanah. It's not Sukkot is one of the three major holidays, and I didn't know that they would, that people would go there for Rosh Hashanah. Now, so that's so far what I'm thinking. Yes, David.
Yeah. So it says again, Me'am Lois, I'm seeing.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he answers this question. Does he talk about this, about what holiday specifically?
Well, he says, yeah. So he says there's two different views. He says it's likely that Elkanah made a vow to bring a sacrifice to God and thanks for being blessed with a son. Any sacrifices that one vowed, like you said before, that you would bring would naturally have been brought to the sanctuary on the very next Yontif, for the very next festival. But Elkanah himself, says Me'am Lois, had vowed to come to Shiloh once a year in addition to the three festivals that are prescribed in the Torah. He would come an extra time because he made this extra vow. And that's why the verse reports that after Samuel was born, Elkanah continued this practice in fulfillment of his vow. That's why it emphasizes the idea of the vow, that he had this vow that he made to Hashem, that he would come to Shiloh 4 times a year, not 3 times a year like the Torah asks. He would come 4 times a year, and he continued to fulfill this vow after Shmuel was born. Me'am Lois.
Yeah. So in other words, this vow that he made, that he would come to Shiloh more an extra time, that was an old vow that was way before Shmuel was in the process.
Right.
And he kept it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
I'm just trying to remember. We spoke about this in the first class about the the Ralbag says that he would take his family once a year, and then he would go alone the other 2 times. And the Abarbanel says that he says that he took them there to give them fear of Hashem. The Targum says he went there 3 times a year, but most commentators, they say he only went once a year. So this is a fourth opinion that he went 4 times a year. Very interesting. But it doesn't tell us clearly when this 4th time was. Right? It's not clear about the dates. What exactly when the full story, when was what day was Shmuel born on, and when did he travel? But ultimately, unless you find it there, that would be great, David, if you find anything. But ultimately, what we're seeing here is that Elkanah, had this whole movement of traveling, going to the Mishkan, and the question of how many times, but he definitely was a major promoter of the Mishkan travel, and now he's heading there to bring his vows, and this includes two things: the vows that he normally would bring for the holiday, and additionally the vows that he promised Hashem for having a child. And so that's why it divides it up, Zebach Hayomim and Nidroi. There's the regular sacrifices and his vow, the annual offering and his vow. Again, the English translates as the annual offering. I don't know that I would translate it that way because there are different opinions, but the regular offering, I would say, and the vow. the offering of the holidays and the vow. So we're now on verse 22. But Hannah did not ascend. We did that. 23. Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what is good in your eyes. Remain until you wean him, but may Hashem fulfill his word. So the woman remained and nursed her son until she weaned him. So what we are seeing here is that Elkanah said, whatever you feel is right, that's what you should do, and that Hannah's waiting till she weans the baby. We see that twice already, the verse 22 and verse 23, and then he says Hashem should fulfill his word. And what does that mean? Hashem should fulfill his word. So, what was the request that Hannah wanted? What did she ask for? So she asked for Zera Anoshim, a male child. But there are different opinions of what specifically this means. She could have just said Ben. Why did she say Zera Anoshim, seed of Anoshim, male offspring? And so the commentaries talk about this. I think someone's phone is going.
Rabbi?
Let me mute everyone for a second. Just 1 second. So the commentaries talk about what this means. Some say it means that he should be outstanding in his wisdom and righteousness, and others say it means that he should just be a regular person of everything regular, normal. Should be a normal child. And so there's different opinions of what the Zera Anoshim. Rashi says a tzaddik. Zera Anoshim, he should be a person, a tzaddik. And Anoshim also means like a chacham, a wise, a righteous. So there are different opinions of what she asked for, but the translation, according to that, what this means, the translation of this verse is that he's praying that he should come out, either righteous, or he should develop into being a righteous child, or he should be everything normal, shouldn't have any issues, and then there's a deeper explanation. Or another explanation is that he should be given over to Hashem. I guess everything should work out with that. Now,
Rabbi?
the deeper explanation, just 1 second, the deeper explanation is that there was a prophecy, there was a heavenly voice that was being announced. And this is going to answer your question, Ben, from before, that every day, a heavenly voice, a baskoil, was coming out and saying, there's going to be a child named Shmuel, and he's going to be a very righteous child, and he's going to be a tzaddik, and his name will be Shmuel. So all of the women in that time, guess what they were doing? They were having children and naming them Shmuel, hoping that would be their child. And so this is the name Shmuel was the reason why everyone's child at that time, they were all called Shmuel. The only thing was, each time when they saw the child fighting with his siblings or getting angry, or they said, this is not it. And the Shmuel of Hannah's Shmuel, her son Shmuel, that's where the father Elkanah said, he said, I hope Hashem fulfills his word in this child, that this child should be the one that Hashem is going to fulfill his word. And that's what he was hoping, that this would be the real Shmuel that everyone's talking about. We have a heavenly voice. We know that there's going to be a righteous person called Shmuel that's going to be born in this time period. And we hope that it'll be him. And so that's what Elkanah was praying for, that this child should be that child Shmuel. So that gives us an explanation of why she called him Shmuel and not Shaul. Shmuel has both. It has the name Shmuel in it, and it also means I asked from Hashem. So that's why that would be the reason. Yes, Ben. Ben?
I wanted to say, I think what she meant, Zera Anashim, is she didn't want a miracle baby. She wanted a baby, a normal way of having a baby, which is with a human, or from a human, not a miracle baby. From her husband, not a miracle baby.
Ben, we don't believe in the virgin birth, so I don't think you have to. Do you have to? I don't think she had to say that. There was no such thing, and it never was, never will be. It never happened. So I don't think they ever thought or dreamed of such a craziness.
Thank you, Rabbi. I really appreciate this.
So yeah, so I don't know. I don't think that's the explanation. You have to come up with such a idea. You gotta be high or something.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so anyway.
Well, they say that there's three things involved in having a baby: the woman, the man, and God.
That's right.
And she said she wants that. She doesn't want a miracle baby.
Well, the
Yeah,
fact
but
is,
God is involved in all of them.
one of the problems with what you're saying also is this is a miracle baby. You could say all you want. This is
A miracle baby.
such a miracle baby you can't imagine. It was impossible for her to have children, and she had a child. So this is the epitome of a miracle baby.
Yeah, that's a miracle for her.
It's a miracle baby.
It's a miracle that she had the baby.
I call it a miracle baby. I don't know.
That's right. Thank you.
Yes, David.
Okay.
I heard that part of this, what I'm saying, I'm seeing here, but part of it I read, I think in another Devar Torah, that Hannah did Shmuel a disservice by saying that he would stay here forever, because forever, it goes according to a time period, like the Yovel, the Jubilee is 50 years, and it usually means 50 years. So what happened was she brought him at the age of 2 when he was weaned, and he passed away at the age of 52. So she inadvertently limited his time span, his lifespan, by saying that, which just reminded me of a practical thing, which is that people have accustomed to write to the Rebbe before Rosh Hashanah, or even the previous Rebbe, and they would say, Ana la'orer rachamim rabim, which means please arouse heavenly mercies, or great mercies. So that's it. And you just say the names of the people. If you start asking for this specific thing, or this person needs money, and this person needs a bracha for refuah shlema, no matter how many brachas, they can be limiting from what Hashem would give you had you not asked for specifics. That's all I wanted to say.
So there are two things that I would say to that. On your first point, what you're saying is Rashi. Rashi mentions this on the commentary over here. I didn't mention it because you have to know it's based on, it says a little differently than what you said it, the way you said it. What Rashi mentions here is that the Levite's job is until the age of 50. And so when it says in the Hebrew, ad olam, until or forever, it means that he should dwell here forever. It means the lifetime of a Levite, not the lifetime, the service time of a Levite, which is until the age of 50. So because of that, so it was sort of a prophecy of Hannah's. I don't know that it's taken as a as sort of like a limitation. You know, I don't know if that's, I don't know that I would I didn't understand it that way, that it was sort of like limiting him, that he would have to die at that age. The way I understood it was more like a prophecy, that she prophesied he was going to die at the age of 52. And the way the wording that she had, she was actually right, you know, almost similar to Rivka. Rivka said that both of my children are going to die on the same day. And she prophesied that it was correct, that both of her children didn't exactly die on the same day, but they were buried on the same day. It was like a prophecy, but not that it caused them to die on the same day. You know, maybe did you see that is that the way they explain it there in the Ma'am Lois? I mean, because it is the common, they mention this here. The Rashi mentions it, and I believe one of the other commentaries also mentions it.
He doesn't say that specifically. It just says that Shmuel would then remain in Shiloh la'olam forever. As mentioned, this word is frequently used to mean for the duration of his term. The Levites served in the sanctuary until the age of 50. Shmuel remained in Shiloh until it was destroyed on the day that Eli died, which was in his 40th year. And then he served as a leader of the Jewish people until he was succeeded by Shaul. But the practical thing is, she mentions the word la'olam, which in Torah means 50. She didn't say la'olam vored or not even la'olam. And it just so happens, so to speak, that he went from 2 to living only till 52. Right. So I saw this Devar Torah in some, it might have been someplace else. I don't know where it was, but somebody brought that.
So I'm just wondering if it might have been misunderstood. In other words, you're taking out a point. I don't know if that's the correct way to read it, that she caused that he would die at the age of 52. It just seems surprising to say such a thing.
Not that she caused it, but she removed extra protection from Hashem by limiting the bracha, by saying, but if people wrote for years to the Rebbe saying, Ana la'orer rachamim rabim, and they were instructed, you know what? If you know what's good for you, don't put in specifics, because if you put in specifics, that may limit the bracha. And this rabbi that to say this, the Devar Torah, was saying that was she didn't do anything to hurt him. She just removed his protection by limiting the bracha. We could say it like that.
So again, maybe that's the explanation. I'm not sure. I'm also not aware of people limiting what they write on the. I always thought for a pond, people also write in a little request.
No, but I mean the Rosh Hashanah pond.
Specifically the Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
Okay. So that's the question would be, so what about the others? Shouldn't the others, you don't want to limit the others either? It deserves thought, it deserves explanation how that works. But again, it seems like someone's adding an explanation to this, where I see it more as just a prophecy of Hannah's, and we know she was a prophetess, where her words were actually, she said words and they actually were the truth, what happened, not that it caused it. But I might be wrong. Maybe there's maybe in the original source of this explanation, maybe it does say it similar to the way you're saying it. So, but maybe we'll have to research it further. Yes, Will.
I wonder, where does it say ad lo olam? I find that she said she'll give him to the Lord for all the days of his life.
So this is an issue when you read the English and not the Hebrew.
But the Hebrew has Yom Chai.
No, the end of verse 22.
Yeah, at the very end.
I wasn't doing 22.
At the end
I'll bring it when he. Okay. I was looking at the original promise up in when she was talking to Eli about it. It was something like Yomim Chai, and then in 28 also it's, or 27, whatever. It's the days of his life.
So check out 22, the last word.
Yeah, I didn't do 22, thanks.
Verse 22.
Now, but as I should mention, we are reading it in the English here, but the English, you'll never be able to, get the exact word the way, if, doing it in the Hebrew is obviously, there's a lot of benefits because you get the exact word and then you can compare the word to the way these words are used in other places. And when you do the English, you can't compare the words to other sources, to other places. So it's limiting doing it in English. We are on verse 23 now. We did 23. And we are now going to do verse 24. She brought him up with her when she weaned him with 3 bulls, 1 ephah of flour, and a flask of wine. She brought him to the house of Hashem in Shiloh, though the child was still tender. In the Hebrew is Vahanar Noar. The child was a child. He was young, fragile, thin, and although he was so young, she still, went against the nature of any mother, and she gave him over to Eli HaKohen. And it says, Vayishchatu es hapar, they slaughtered the bull, Vayoviu es hanar el Eli, and they brought the child to Eli. Vatomer, and she said, Bi Adoni, please my master, by your life, my Lord, I am the woman who was standing by you here praying to Hashem. She's reminding him of the fact that this child was a gift from Hashem. This is the child that I prayed for. Hashem granted me my request that I asked of him. And there is midrashic sources. There is a midrashic source that mentions that there was a little dialogue here. At this time, they brought the sacrifice to the Mishkan, and they didn't have someone to slaughter it. And Shmuel, who was only a young little kid, he said, he'd just been weaned, but he obviously was studying with his father, and was obviously a brilliant young man, brilliant child. And he had told him, he says, listen, you don't need a Kohen to slaughter. The Kohen is needed after the slaughtering to collect the blood and to sprinkle it and to do all the other activities. But for the slaughter itself, you don't need a Kohen that knows how to slaughter. Even an Israelite can slaughter. So they told Eli that this little kid had given such a verdict, and Eli did not appreciate that. He said, you're not allowed to give such a verdict in front of in front of rabbis. You shouldn't be you really not. You have to have respect for the greater rabbis, and Hannah had to beg Eli not to punish her son for his little child, of course, but in a certain sense, this was a very serious affront. Not only that, I think there's a deeper concept to it, and that is who was Shmuel's great-great-grandfather? Korach. So this possibly brought about a reminder of the original Korach, of the great-great-grandfather of Shmuel, who started a whole rebellion against Moses and Aaron. And so, but Hannah prayed to Hannah begged him that to have mercy on him. And she said, please, my Lord, by your life, my Lord, I am the woman who is standing by you. This is the child that I prayed for. And Hashem granted me my request that I asked of him. Furthermore, I have dedicated him to Hashem all the days that he lives. He is dedicated to Hashem. He then prostrated himself to Hashem. And so this is the story of Hannah bringing her son and giving him over to Eli, and they and then you have chapter 2 where Hannah sings a song of prayer, thanking Hashem and so on. So this is a tremendous emotional moment where she's giving her child, her only child, over to Hashem, and who she had, after many years of waiting and not having children, she's now giving him to Hashem and keeping her promise. I was going to mention that, it's not surprising someone to make a promise, such a promise, but to actually keep it. I mean, that's, when it comes down, bottom line, that's when people normally try to figure out how to get a, well, I didn't really mean it. It wasn't exactly as I said. And it reminds me of the joke where someone is looking for a parking space before their meeting, and there's no spaces available. And this is a very important meeting, is very, important business meeting. And the man says, listen, I'm going to give 20% of this, the net profit of this meeting, I'm going to give to charity, God, if you find me a parking space right now, so I won't be so late. And all of a sudden, the person in front of him pulls out of a parking space. And so the man says, never mind, God, I got a parking space already. So the idea is, it's very easy to make a promise, but then, normally people try to back out of it. And, well, I didn't say exactly when I'm bringing him and giving him have to ask him first. She had a lot of options of how to, it would seem like she could have backed out in numerous ways. She didn't exactly say when she's giving him and exactly to what extent. And yet she gave him over to Hashem, and to be there in the tabernacle, and that was a tremendous act of selflessness, and I guess a continuation of her, how she really showing how she really felt when she said the prayer, where she really felt it to be that it was selfless. Her prayer was selfless. It really shows on her original prayer that it was total selflessness when she prayed, that she sincerely meant it.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Rabbi, it's Penina Sarah, please. Who prostrated himself? Was it Shmuel or was it Eli?
So the commentaries question that. The Abarbanel has a question here. Who was it? Rashi brings down one opinion Shmuel, another opinion Elkanah, and the Abarbanel mentions it was Eli maybe, or Shmuel, or Elkanah. He mentions all three options. It's a little unclear. I'm not sure. I don't know dikduk. I don't know grammar that perfectly in Hebrew, but I'm guessing that it says vayishtachu instead of vayishtachavu. So I'm guessing that it's from that vav, that it's considered singular, because I would have thought it should say vayishtachaveh if it was singular, and it says vayishtachu. I thought maybe could mean plural, but the commentaries don't agree with me. So, agree with me. My grammar is not perfect, so I can't really say a voice of view, but it seems to me like it might be because there should be an extra vav there, and that would mean the plural, because it says vayishtachu. Now I see the Metzudas David says Shmuel is the one who prostrated himself, and that he's going to be a servant of Hashem.
He
Ben, you wanted to say something? Ben?
yeah, we had the same issue when Jacob met Esau. When Jacob met Esau when he came back, we had the same issue. He said Vaishtachavu, and I said both of them were prostrating, but the Mefarshim said no, only Jacob did. But it said Vaishtachavu in plural.
Yeah.